So I just got through watching playback of what I had just recorded, and I made the decision that I'm going to split this up into an A section and a B section. And the A section is going to pertain to the discussion portion, where I'm explaining to you how I arrived on the decision to carve the top in the way that I'm doing it. And then the B section of this will be the action of me doing it. And for those that want to skip the talking part, you have my blessing to do so, because it is lengthy and not everybody's going to care about that stuff. So you can skip that part and go to the B section of this video, and you can watch me do the action of carving the top. But for the rest of you nerds that want to stick around and listen to me pontificate for 15 minutes talking about why I'm carving the top in this particular way, you can feel free to join me. So I just wanted to make that clear and explain why I did what I did. So there we go. With that, we'll get on with the discussion, and then for the rest of you in video B, we will get on with the carving. Okay, we're going to pick up right where we left off. The last thing I did when you last saw this body was I did the control cavity. Now, one thing I did off screen is I cleared the mahogany out of the cavity. There was a little whisper of mahogany left, but it was really only like half the cavity had mahogany in it, and the other half it was down to the maple. So I cleaned that up and just went all the way down to the maple everywhere. They came out of the factory in the 50s both ways, and I've made them both ways in the past. And I thought I was going to leave the mahogany, and then, things worked out and I didn't leave the mahogany. So that's okay. I'm still very happy with how that turned out. But today we're going to, hopefully, if the weather will cooperate, because this is one of those steps that I do outside, because it makes a hell of a mess. Carving the top, just sawdust on top of sawdust. So I do not want to do that in here. So we're going to do that outside. But first I wanted to sort of just discuss how I want to sort of update these templates in this video, the templates that Scott and myself and Frank, all of us put together that are on the My Les Paul forum, because I supplied to Scott the carve contours, and then he came up with these sort of the template set. And they're good, but there's a couple of things on it that I feel like could be improved. And there was also one glaring omission that I made that I didn't really realize the significance of until after the fact. And that would have helped him to make these a little better. And I'll explain that to you here in just a second. This is, I sort of cleaned this up a bit so you can really see that figure now. And you can see that, this is a very mismatched top. It's very flamey, but this side over here is much wider flame. And then this one's a little bit more narrow. I deliberately wanted to have sort of a mismatched top on this one, because I think those are pretty cool. So I think this is going to make a heck of a cool top whenever it's carved and painted and all. But enough about that. So here's our carve templates that Scott drew up based on the contours that I gave. Now these contours are perfectly accurate. Those contours are great. Now the issues for me come in here is that this contour, contour number 4, this one here, these elevation lines work great. It'll make that contour perfectly. Contour number 2, which is right there, these elevation lines make that contour perfectly. Contour here, number 1, these elevation lines will work, but it takes ages because there's so much meat left right here. To get down to what it needs to be is just really just a chore. And then which that you can still do that works. It's just a lot of work up here. Now my big problem comes in with contour number 3 right here, because the way these lines are drawn right here, it just scoops out too much material. And you really cannot you can't recreate contour number 3 based off of these elevation lines. So I had to address that. And then the second thing I had to address is this contour down here. This would be contour number, well, it's a center seam, the tail end contour. This one here, you know, I think everybody assumes, just like I did, just like, you know, that the rim of these guitars, the binding, is a consistent thickness. That's just a base assumption. And at least based off of the guitars I've seen, and based off the information and beauty of the burst, I believe that's not the case. If you try to, make a topographical carve, and you use these elevation lines as they are, let's ignore the fact that contour number 3 doesn't really work in this plan, but let's just assume that it does, just for the sake of this discussion. Let's assume that this contour works, and if you carve that ledge at a consistent thickness all the way around, say you did it at 0.21 or 0.23 inches, okay? So you have a perfect 0.23 inch rim all the way around of maple that your binding will eventually be routed into. Well, what I noticed is that I got a contour from the 56 that was this angle here. And I also, Frank sent me some contours of his 59. And the tops that I carved, when it would come time to do this contour, I could make this contour work, make that one work, make this one work, make all of them work fine. But every time I would go to do this contour on sort of a 45-degree angle across this section, I could never get it to fit. And it never made sense to me why that is. I couldn't understand it until I finally came to the realization that the maple thickness from here to here is not the same. It doesn't stay that consistent height all the way around from here to here. So I put a piece of tape on this body to show you, to try to help illustrate what I'm talking about here. The maple here in this section of the carve needs to be significantly thinner than the maple going around the rest of the body. And I know that people, you're going to think, what, are you insane? But I'm telling you that if you look at Beauty of the Burst, if you read through the back where it has all the measurements listed, and you go through all of the 58s, 59s, and 60s, there's a very consistent thing you will see that down here, the measurement is almost every single time different than the thickness listed up here at the neck joint.
This is the information from Beauty of the Burst, and this is all just 59s, and I put them in a spreadsheet, and this is the neck joint thickness of the body and the end thickness at the opposite end of the guitar. And you can see that the average thickness of the body at the neck joint is 50.26 millimeters, and at the opposite end it's 48.185, which is a difference of 2.075 millimeters, or 0.0817 inches. So that's more explanation.
And it's generally speaking, it's somewhere around 2 millimeters, which is about what I've got this set at here. This is about 2 millimeters lower than this here. And then it just sort of gradually walks its way down. And when I finally got around to carving a top with sort of my version of these templates, I figured out how to make that work. And it is this right here. These are the lines that I'm going to be using when I carve this top. It's very similar, except, to the ones that Scott drew up. In this area here is pretty close, and this area here is pretty much identical. But now right here is where things start getting a little bit weird, because I wanted to try to figure out a way to make this work, to make the carve here so much easier to settle in on. without having to remove so much material by hand. You know, let the router do most of the work here. There is extra material here versus the ones that Scott drew up, because I needed to bump that out a little bit to give some more meat here. And then right here, this is where it gets weird, is that your first template is going to be this section here. This whole section that you see right here. This will all make more sense when you see me doing it, but this whole section right here is going to be the same height. And then this one steps up a 16th, 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 up a 16th. And then right here, we actually go down. This section right here is going to go down minus 2 millimeters. And then you step up about a 0.5 millimeter here, up another half, and then it feathers up to that full height right here. And that'll give you that rim where the height decreases as you come around that side, as you come around to the very end of the guitar. All right, so what we're looking at here is this is a dummy top that I carved. And this top is carved to as good as I can get it, to exactly the same specs as a vintage guitar, vintage Les Paul. And I wanted to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about with the step, you know, with this area down here, how it is going to get thinner from here to here, and how that ended up working out, and it worked for me. I'll show you with the calipers here. We are at about minus 2 millimeters, like I said. Now, this is the profiles, and you can see, hopefully you can see, that, you know, I'm matching on this thing. Matching very well. Hopefully that comes up pretty clearly. And then on the center one here, go up the center seam. See how that matches. I guess I'm hoping that that shows up well enough. And then the problem I was running into, because you can carve this to where it matched, even if you add that extra couple of millimeters here, I mean, you can carve it to where it matches that profile. But that causes a problem with this template here. You know, when I did that, this template here I couldn't make it fit, because that extra height right here made the whole thing sit up too high, and it wouldn't touch all the way down. So by removing that extra height here, it made all that line up.
Now, I'm not the only person who's ever observed this. This is a rendering from the My Les Paul forum from one of the other members who observed this exact phenomenon on his vintage Les Paul as well. And he's showing you here how it was thicker at the upper end of the guitar by the neck joint, and it thinned as it went down.
I hope you followed all that. And I know, believe me, I can hear you screaming through the monitor like, you spent way too much time doing this. This is really over the top. And yeah, I will fully admit that this is way excessive. And by all means, you do not have to do it this way. I've never carved a top using this exact template set before. So I want to see how it turns out. If it turns out pretty good, if it turns out kind of like I want it to, then I will make these available. But you know, there's many different carved template sets out there, and you can buy them, or you can use the one in our plans, and it's perfectly fine. Or you can use the one I'll supply, you know, with this video, and just eliminate that sort of step down in the binding height around the very lower rim right at the tail end of the guitar. It's a perfectly adequate carve that way. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I can understand people not really wanting to do that, because it is a little bit, it's a lot of work. Like, is it worth it at the end of the day? I mean, it's really not. So I totally understand people not wanting to do that, but I just wanted to do it because I'm just built that way. You know, why do this? Why go to the trouble of this if you don't go all the way? At least that's the way I look at it. I mean, maybe that sounds silly to people, and if it does, then so be it. It's just how I'm wired, it's how I'm geared. But by all means, if you build a guitar, you know, using any of the ways that I do things, and you want to do it a different way, that's totally up to you. I have nothing negative to say about that. So hopefully it stopped raining. It started raining outside earlier, and I had to bring all my stuff back in. Oh, what a nightmare, because I haven't even started yet. So hopefully the rain has let up, and we can go and get to carving this top. So follow me outside, and hopefully we'll be able to carve this top.